Slide 1, Clause 5 Overview. Now let's move into Clause 5, which covers Prequalification of Welding Procedure Specifications, or WPSs. If you've spent much time using the 2020 edition, you'll notice right away that AWS spent a lot of effort reorganizing this clause. Most of the welding requirements haven't changed dramatically, but the presentation has. Throughout Clause 5, you'll see better organization, updated terminology, and stronger ties back to the design philosophy we discussed in Clause 4. In my opinion, these changes make the code much easier to use in the field. Pre-qualified WPS tables. Reorganized. The first thing you'll notice is the pre-qualified WPS tables. In the 2020 edition, everything was packed into a single Table 5.1. Whether you were looking up SMAW, FCAW, GMAW, or submerged arc welding requirements, you had to work your way through one large table. The 2025 edition breaks that information into 4 separate tables, one for each welding process. That's a simple change, but it's a good one. It makes the code easier to navigate, reduces the chance of reading requirements that don't apply to your process, and makes developing a pre-qualified WPS much more straightforward. Matching, undermatching, and overmatching. Another important change is that Clause 5 now adopts the filler metal terminology introduced earlier in the code. Instead of simply talking about filler metals, AWS consistently uses the terms matching, undermatching, and overmatching. Those aren't just new definitions, they're now part of the design philosophy. As you prepare a pre-qualified WPS, filler metal selection is no longer viewed in isolation. It's tied directly back to the strength requirements established in Clause 4. That creates much better consistency throughout the code. Overmatching filler metals. The 2025 edition also provides additional guidance on overmatching filler metals. The code continues to allow overmatching filler metals in pre-qualified WPSs, but it limits that overmatch to 10,000 psi or 70 megapascals above the matching filler metal classification. The reason is fairly straightforward. While stronger isn't always better, a reasonable amount of overmatching is acceptable without creating significant differences in weld behavior. AWS is trying to balance practicality with predictable structural performance. Group V base metals. Table 5.7 has also been expanded with the addition of Group 5 base metals, including ASTM A9113 grade 80. This reflects changes taking place in the structural steel industry, where higher strength steels are becoming more common in certain applications. For many fabricators, this may not affect everyday work because most projects still involve lower strength structural steels. However, for engineers and shops working on larger commercial buildings or specialty structures, the addition of Group 5 provides pre-qualified guidance that wasn't available before. Shielding gas requirements. The shielding gas requirements haven't changed very much from a technical standpoint. The oxygen equivalent concept is still there, and the code continues to require compatibility between the electrode and the shielding gas being used. What has changed is the organization and the wording. AWS has done a better job coordinating these requirements with the filler metal specifications. The result is a section that's easier to read and easier to apply when selecting shielding gases for production welding. Clause 5 Summary. So what's the overall takeaway from Clause 5? I don't see this as a major technical overhaul. Instead, I see it as a major usability improvement. AWS reorganized the pre-qualified WPS tables, standardized the filler metal terminology, expanded the code to include newer structural steels, and cleaned up the shielding gas requirements. If you've been using the 2020 edition for years, you'll probably find the 2025 edition easier to navigate. The welding itself hasn't changed much, but the code has become more organized, more consistent, and easier for engineers, inspectors, and welding personnel to use.